Hey, my name is Prism, and I am the Director of Education here at Earth Nation. And it's been a long journey to get to this point. um, it started when I was 13, and I had a spontaneous spiritual experience, which put me on the path of understanding what humanity is doing to this planet, why we're so out of balance with ourselves and with nature, and what we can do about it. And so that's been my main point of research in my life for, I guess, 21 years now. About 3 years ago, I got swept up in this awakening that seems to be happening here on Earth, and was drawn into meditation every day, all day, pretty much 10 to 12 hours a day, uh, meditating, letting go of attachments, emotional attachments, intellectual attachments. And by the time I was done that process every day for about 10, 11 months, it was time to write my first book, which is called The World Creation Guide for the Heroes Ready to Start Civilization 2.0. And that book is just wrapping up now. We're in editing. But my piece for this movement is to help educate, to help people understand why in the world are we creating a whole new social system. I mean, when you first hear that, it sounds like a very drastic approach, but after years of research, it's the only thing that's going to create the type of world that we want to see. This current system, it just doesn't have the ability to create a world that treats everyone fairly, that makes sure everyone is fed, has a house over their head, and is living a life of meaning and purpose, which is perhaps the most important piece of this. That our story, our cultural story, no longer gives most people meaning, and people feel lost in their lives. They are turning to drugs. They're turning to anything that is a distraction that can keep them out of here. And to be perfectly honest, I don't want to create a new social system. I'd much rather be surfing and playing video games. But there's just this compassion and this love that has awoken inside of me for humanity, and because I want to live in a world too. I want to live in a world that supports my passions and my loves, and I want everyone to, because I know when we live in a world that helps elevate each individual to their highest potential, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Because there's so many geniuses, there's so many amazing people in this world that, man, if we could just help them get started, get them what they need, get them the education they need, the resources, God knows what the future could look like. I mean, even in this corporate model, we've created amazing things. And outside of that model, we could take it to a whole different level when we don't have to worry about making profit and making shareholders happy and blah, blah, blah. Oh, even within a couple years, like once we get the momentum needed, uh, the work week is going to shrink down considerably. You know, some models put it at 3 hours per week once we get the systems up and going. Then the rest of the time you can focus on your family, you can focus on your interests, you can focus on your passions. That one's big. Freedom of travel, not having to worry about, oh, am I going to be able to make rent this month? Am I going to be able to get groceries? Just the whole stress level of this system, this system is so stressful. It's like we're always on this rat wheel, on this rat race. And just taking that away and letting people know, hey, for 3 hours of work a week, even if it was 10 hours of work a week, everything's going to be covered. You're going to be okay. From there, we have a place of safety. We have a nest. a place to grow from. When you're constantly under stress, you can't grow because you are in survival mode, you're in fear. But when we have peace, this is when we can really step into who we are as beings and share our amazing gifts with the rest of the world. So that's the world that I want to see. A world where people don't have to worry about their next meal. A world where we start correcting the imbalances that we've caused on this planet, and we put a lot of resources towards that, of repopulating the fish populations, cleaning the ocean, cleaning the land, cleaning the air, figuring out a way to work with industry, because industry is great. Technology is great. Don't ever for 1 second think that we are anti-technology. We want to use technology to the full potential. We want to see a planet where people and technology are working together to create something fantastic. And the best vehicle to do that, the sciences and technology. It's not politics. It's not arguing with each other. Technology and science are the way to the future. And we need to embrace and honor that, instead of arguing about stupid positionalities and whether this group deserves health care and that group deserves to use the same bathroom as that group. These are distractions. They're not important compared to our planet is burning. Right now we've had these fires for years. Our fish populations are dying. And our current system just doesn't address these things, which is crazy. And in the new system, taking care of our planet and our people will be the number one priority. Number one. I think there's a misconception that this path of stepping into your power, of reclaiming your voice and really following your passions, that you're going to lose something. You have to give something up. And that's not the case at all. The only way that our species has had to understand this path of self-fulfillment and towards enlightenment and towards really understanding who and what you are as a being, the only way we've had to understand that traditionally is mysticism and spirituality, religion. And it hasn't worked all that well. You know, for all the people who study spirituality and religion, very few people awaken the enlightened states that the teachers were trying to guide people into. These states of unconditional love and compassion, of uniting with what they called the divine. So we have a new tool, which is better, in my humble opinion, and that's science. That's psychology, neuroscience, and really looking at what is happening inside the mind, what is happening inside the being. And there are so many fantastic books on psychology and various healing techniques out there today. You know, if you pick up a couple, you'll learn enough to start letting go of negative behavior patterns, the belief patterns that don't serve you, that hold you back from living the life that you want. And that's really the process of what people call awakening, is it's letting go of the things that you aren't. It's letting go of the ideas that hold you back from being who you really are. The fears, the traumas, the insecurities, whatever it may look like. It's about learning to make peace with those things inside of yourself so that they no longer affect you in the present. And you don't lose anything. You know, maybe you lose an attachment to thinking, oh, I am this label. But when you realize you're not a label, you're so much bigger than any label could possibly hope to be, you realize you're not losing anything, you're just letting go of an emotional or intellectual attachment. And when you do let that go, it's freeing. every time you let something like this go, it's freeing because you realize I am a creator. This is putting myself in a box when I label myself or I believe this way and I try to force reality to be a certain way. When you let that go, you can just let the universe unfold as it is and enjoy the unfolding, to live in joy, to have fun more often, and eventually you learn to connect into the heart and view reality, view life from here instead of from here. And that's when the magic happens. What is love? That is an interesting question. I don't know if I can define it simply. It's a vibration. So when you really get in touch with your emotions again, because this culture that we were raised in, it taught us not to embrace our emotions, told us don't cry, don't feel this, don't feel that. Oh, God, undoing that damage takes a while. But when you really learn to embrace and love your emotions again and feel them instead of resisting them, you realize it's all a vibration. It's all a way of perceiving the world. It's like a filter. You know, like, I don't know if you like Photoshop, but it's like different Photoshop filters. You know, when you're angry, you're looking through one filter. When you're sad, you're looking through another filter. And each one has its own vibration, its own mojo. And love happens, the vibration of love happens when you let go of all the fears, all the lower energies. And it just seems to be the natural state of this universe when you get out of the way. And it's just the state of absolute flow and oneness with everyone and everything that you interact with. And it is so much fun. It's different than romantic love, for sure. You know, romantic love feels great. It's beautiful. And we really need more words for love. I think that would be really helpful in the new paradigm. I'll answer your question kind of a roundabout way. So as you let go of attachments and you let go of needing to be right about things, your ego slowly dies. Who you were and who you thought that you were fades away. And you realize that you are so much more and that you are so interconnected with this universe. And, you know, now with quantum physics, we understand everything in this universe is energy vibrating. There's one electromagnetic field, and everything within it is just that basic energy dancing and vibrating a little bit differently. One way it vibrates like some grass, another way it vibrates like me, another way it vibrates like you. And you feel this when you reach certain states of meditation and insight. And you recognize on an incredibly deep level that the one looking out your eyes is the same one looking out my eyes. And the desire to hurt another being or cause another being pain, it's gone. You just, there's no reason. And in fact, it becomes painful to hurt other beings and to do anything that could possibly hurt other beings. And this is, I think, the deepest virtue of love, is seeing yourself in others and understanding that others are just another you and you're just another them. And that we are the universe literally experiencing itself. this wouldn't be my expertise per se, of telling people how to invest their money and time. The one thing I would say is, don't look out there. Look here. Look within and ask yourself, what kind of world is it that I want to see? And write it down. And from there, say, okay, how can I help create that? And figure out how much time you have to put towards that, what resources you have to put towards that, and then find an organization that you can contribute your time and resources to help bring that about. Because we each get a piece of the puzzle. And, no one piece is better than any other. It's all beautiful. It's all perfect. What abundance means to me is probably different than to most people. I've really let go of a lot of what I thought I was. Most of my ego is gone now. There's very little I want out in the world. To me, abundance is about a feeling inside. It's about having this loving flow of energy that just pours out of my heart, and how I can increase that. And the way I personally increase my abundance is through meditation and through serving. Figuring out how I can help others. And that is really, serving is the most beautiful way that I've created abundance inside of myself, is sharing and helping people overcome the obstacles that I've already gone through. Abundance in the new paradigm. This is something that excites me. In the old paradigm, people judged each other based on how much stuff they had. And, you having a bigger house, a newer, fancier, shinier car, and all the latest gizmos that you filled your house with that you don't ever really use except maybe once a year. What good is that? That doesn't make people happy. In the new paradigm, we're going to use resources much smarter. We'll have shared economies where each city will have a depot with anything and everything someone would want to rent or use. You want a jet ski? Take a jet ski from the depot. You want some golf clubs? Get your golf clubs. Highest quality of everything. And when you're done, just take them back. Of course, if you golf multiple times a week, of course you can own your own golf clubs. But for things that people aren't using frequently, we can make those shared community resources, and people can have instant access to everything and anything they need. Which, to me, that's abundance. It's not owning it yourself, it's just having the access to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and then what else do you need?
It's like the planet, right? The planet is totally abundant, but yet we've managed to create a society that has half people somewhere who are starving and people elsewhere who are obese. Like, paradoxical. It doesn't make any sense.
So, what we're talking about here is a totally different way of understanding reality than the way we were brought up. And not everyone's going to be willing to hear that, because it challenges their ego. It challenges what they believe is truth. And whenever you challenge what someone thinks is truth, the ego says, no, I already know the answers. I am the authority of truth in this universe. Sorry, bud. And there's really not a point in trying to convince them. And this was actually one of the topics that made me wonder, am I really ready to write this book? Am I really ready to jump into this movement? Because are people ready to hear this? And the answer is the majority are not. They are still not. But we don't need them. Because there are enough people alive today who have realized that reality is so much bigger than the little picture our culture painted for us. That it's not just about getting more stuff and getting new titles and looking fancy in front of others, that there's this entire inner universe that they don't teach us about. And when you really focus on that inner universe and you let go of the desires to make other people understand what you've learned, when you find ways to love them anyways, magic happens. Like, they'll start becoming more open about it. Start listening to them very carefully. Like, understand where they're coming from. Ask them follow-up questions. Help them clarify how they understand the world. And when you really listen to others, in turn, they'll start really listening to you. Oftentimes we have these amazing experiences and we're like, holy shit, I just figured out the secrets of the universe. And we come back and tell our friends and they have no frame of reference whatsoever to understand. But when you embody that, when you really live the new truth and really live in the heart, it'll naturally start affecting the field around you. Because remember, we're not separate. We are all the same energy vibrating. And when one of us vibrates higher, it sends out a ripple effect and affects everyone who we're around. So have patience. Lots and lots and lots of patience. And the way we're going to change the world isn't by convincing people with logic. It's through inspiration. By living from our hearts, by sharing our gifts. That is how we're going to change the world. So, music's not my huge passion of mine. I love music, of course, like all of us do. But to me, music is the song of the universe. It's literally someone who is the universe creating this beautiful melody that can affect people emotionally and change perception. The music, a lot of the music that's coming out for the past few years, especially from artists who are part of this awakening, oh my God, it's just so beautiful. And like the places that it can touch inside of you when you allow it, it's like it wakes something up inside. It's almost like it's carrying like transmissions of knowledge and insight. And when you just surrender to the music, it expands your heart, it expands your mind, and I think that's awesome.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a beautiful interview.